Here's Blair Kerkhoff from the Kansas City Star
gotta be like
joining
that,
the
man.
show. Blair, I just cut off my son. I apologize. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Hope you guys are doing okay.
Yeah, we are. It's always, as I said, it's always informative to get you on the show. And I'm curious about several of your opinions and thoughts. But I want to start with the Royals because it sounds like the downtown ballpark has suddenly kind of caught fire, the notion of it, down close to the downtown arena. I don't know what the name of that place is.
T-Mobile Center.
There you go, the T-Mobile Center. What are you thinking about that at this point?
Well, in the area that they're talking about was the old Kansas City Star printing press. So a 2-block structure, that's a glass structure across I-70 from the T-Mobile Center. So, look, I think that was an idea that was part of the original plan when there were more than two options. When there were multiple options, they talked about that site. And that's the one that had me most excited because you didn't have to build an entertainment district around it. It's already there, the Power and Light District. It's basically between the Power and Light District and the Crossroads District. If people know downtown Kansas City, those are basically two entertainment areas, bars and restaurant areas in downtown. So I like that idea. I would love to see that become the site for a new downtown ballpark if they're going to move from Kauffman Stadium. So that's picked up steam too. The idea of, well, why are we moving in the first place? We've got this great ballpark, and do we really need a new one for the future? So you're right, Bob. It's been all of a sudden it's back on the radar screen and part of the conversation, right in the middle of what's been an outstanding football season around here.
So I guess I'll ask that question. Why do the Royals need a new stadium? What would be the argument for that from proponents of it? And do you think it's potentially followed by a longer run of competitiveness from the Royals than we've seen?
Yeah, well, that goes hand in hand, Jeff. John Sherman, the owner, primary owner and CEO of the organization, says the Royals need the new ballpark for the revenue streams, for payroll to be competitive in the AL Central. So I don't know. Look, he knows better than I do what it's going to take to be competitive. The money that would come from a Royals controlled entertainment district is what he's planning on. And so that if that's what it takes to have the type of payroll the Royals need to be competitive, then I'm not, I can question it, but he knows better than I do. That's what it takes. My argument is you can do a better job maximizing your revenue potential with a good ball club, no matter where it's played. And if you averaged 2.5 to 3 million fans a year, whether that's at a downtown ballpark or at Kauffman, then you should have the revenue to support a payroll to be competitive. Problem for the Royals is they haven't been at that kind of attendance since the 14, 15, 16 teams, and so it's also kind of a little bit of a chicken and egg. Do you invest in a team to make it better, or do you wait for the team to get better to have the revenues to invest in a team to keep it playing at a high level? So it's interesting. It's good off-season stuff, and if the Chiefs were not competitive, if college football around here wasn't any good, it would be more of a front burner issue. Instead, it's by the way, the Royals are making some news this week too.
Well, I'm going to switch, Blair, to the Chiefs because I'm a little more interested in them right now. Obviously, big game on Monday night this week. How did they come off the bye? Were the injuries good? And what's been said this week about facing the Eagles?
Yeah. So, the Super Bowl rematch, some people calling it Super Bowl 57.5. Chiefs are in good shape. And we talked to Andy Reid today for the first time, really, in almost 2 weeks. and nobody on the injury list that wasn't there before the previous game against Miami, which is to say linebacker Nick Bolton won't play. He's on the IR and he'll be out with a wrist, a dislocated wrist. A wrist is healing, so they're in really good shape for this game. I think better than the Eagles. Dallas Goedert, their tight end, probably won't play for Philadelphia. I think a lot of, as is always the case during a bye week, a lot of self-reflection, and you try to get better at the things that troubled you in the first half of the season. And there's on the offensive side, there's quite a list of that for the Chiefs. Short yardage and deep passes and all kinds of issues on offense. However, they're 7-2. Picked up a win over the Dolphins. They played. If the season ended today, the first half of the schedule included 4 playoff teams: the Lions, the Vikings, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Dolphins. And the Chiefs beat 3 of them. And the one they didn't beat, they didn't have Travis Kelce or Chris Jones on the field in that Detroit game. So I think the Chiefs like where they are. They're sitting well. These are the 2 best records in football going at each other on Monday night, game of the year. I'm really looking forward to it.
Blair Kerkhoff with us from the Kansas City Star. I want to ask you a little bit about the Chiefs as well, because I'm intrigued by them. They've kind of changed their stripes this season. They're more reliant on their defense, maybe less reliant on their offense. Patrick Mahomes still has very, very good numbers, but not the numbers we've seen from Patrick Mahomes previously. So I'm going to ask you to jump ahead. What about the future for the Chiefs? Do they try to get back to that explosive offensive game to lead the way, or are they satisfied kind of letting their defense play a more prominent role?
Well, I think, Bob, I think it's going to depend on how much Mahomes trusts his receivers. That to me has been the big issue in the first half when it comes to the offense. How much does he trust a Sky Moore, a Kadarius Toney, Marquez Valdez-Scantling? There have been times in the first half of the season where those guys would be open and Mahomes wouldn't throw it to them, because I just don't think the trust factor is there. Or he'll force a pass to Kelce that'll get intercepted because he didn't go the other way. It's a little, it's just a little strange to see, and we're not used to seeing it. And that's why some of Mahomes' numbers are down. His touchdown percentage, his yards per game, all that's down. So, excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. It's just a matter of him trusting his receivers, and I think that the Chiefs used the bye week to help in that regard. I think there was a lot of work between Patrick Mahomes and his wideouts, just like there was in the preseason. And I'm going to be interested to see what the snap counts are and what the targets are for players like I just mentioned, in addition to the Justin Watsons and Rashee Rices and Travis Kelce's going forward.
So I want to ask you about KU basketball. We saw them beat Kentucky. Seems like after some of the transfers, and they lost Arterio Morris, who they had in from the transfer portal, they're pretty thin depth-wise. I know that's not usually a problem for Bill Self and KU. Do you think it will end up being, when we talk about problems with KU, it's all very relative, but is that something that could become a somewhat of an issue down the road?
Yeah, you're right. First world problems with KU basketball. But what a great game for them to be down for much of it, and come back from the early second half deficit that was double digits, only to have Kentucky go back up ahead by 6 late, and then for DeJuan Harris to make the 2 big threes. I thought a really good comeback win for Kansas, and it showed what a veteran team this is. I don't know. I just think the one thing that game showed is the freshmen, for the most part, aren't ready yet. The Amalca Jacksons and a couple of the others, Timberlake, and I think it's going to take a little while for those guys to develop. But what a good group to develop behind. I mean, to have McCullough and Hunter and DeJuan Harris and KJ Adams. I think they've got a great nucleus of veteran guys, more so than a lot of teams in college basketball. So yeah, I think they're going to be in great shape. I was really impressed with Kentucky in that game, to be honest with you. For their young guys to play as well as they did and to almost pull it off would have been a great victory for Calipari. But in the end, it was just the experience of Kansas that found a way to get it done in a really high level game to be played this early in the season.
Well, I want to just shift a little bit to the K-State Kansas game coming up. How you see that, and I guess more importantly, what's going on with the Kansas quarterback situation?
Yeah, as we're all trying to find out if Jason Bean's going to play for KU. The whisper, the late whisper this week is that he is going to play. So that certainly would help Kansas in this game. Look, I think it's fantastic that you got the teams ranked in some poll. I guess it's the college football playoff poll, but first time since '95, both teams would have been ranked when they play each other, and that's just great for the state and for this rivalry, and really good for the Big 12 going forward. I think because with these two coaches, you just can trust that they're going to have their programs in good shape in whatever the landscape of college football looks like going forward. But no, if Jason Bean's playing, then I think Kansas will be competitive in this game, and I'd shave a couple of points off the line. Last I saw it was a 7.5 point favorite role for K-State in here, but it'll be interesting to see. It's one of the fascinating aspects of this game is having Sean Snyder on the other sideline, right? Bill Snyder's son, who works with the KU special teams now, and I know he's had some conversations with the players about what this rivalry has meant historically to K-State. and how that you got to transfer that emotion over to KU. So I'm really fascinated to see how this one's going to play out.
One more question for you, Blair. Take a drink of water, and I'll extend some time here. But I am curious to know. You mentioned the landscape of college football. It seems to be headed toward power, and especially in the SEC and the Big Ten. So when those schools have coaches openings, we both know how attractive Lance Leipold is to that situation, and also Chris Kleiman. How realistic is it? And I know K-State and KU fans probably want to choke me before I even ask the question, but how realistic is it for them to hold on to these guys for the long term?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we talk a lot about that. And the way I look at it, Bob, is the SEC and the Big Ten have already started to separate themselves financially, and that gap's just going to continue to grow. And so, if you're a coach in the ACC, assuming it's not Florida State or Clemson, or in the Big 12, I mean, are you automatically attracted to a job in the Big Ten or in the SEC? I hope not in the case of Kleiman and Leipold. I don't think you can never say never, but those two coaches seem to be about where they are. They really everything they say, everything they do has been about where they are right now, and I really don't see Kleiman ever leaving K-State. And I'm going to take Lance Leipold at his word that he says he's made his last move as a coach. And why would you leave Kansas for Michigan State right now? Kansas can pay Lance Leipold enough money and his staff enough money to keep that, to keep him happy there. So I just don't think we're going to see them move off anytime soon.
Good stuff. We enjoy having you on the show every time you come on. Thank you so much, Blair.
Yeah. Sorry about the choked upness. We'll do better next time.
You're thinking about Taylor and Travis, aren't you?
Blair Kerkhoff from the Kansas City Star with us as we talk a variety of subjects, and that's the thing about Blair. I've been with him so many times in the past, and you gather and you just talk about anything. He
knows it all.
Great insight on everything, and that's why he's such a good guest here.